runs over to me, and the Timberwolf jumps up, excited to see me. He then puts his paws on my shoulders like this and looks at me. Well, one of my favorite ones is not one I was a part of, but they were going out to LA, that 6-lane highway, that really big area of LA, and they were not behaving themselves in the van as Chuck expected. They were not meeting the standard of pre-match behavior, or maybe it was post-match. Yeah, maybe it was post-match behavior. So he pulled off on the side of the ginormous highway, and he told everybody to get out and to start walking. And he then drove off, and he ended up, I don't know how far down, but pulling off on the side of the road somewhere, putting out a chair, reading a newspaper until they got to him. However many hours later they got to him.
Chuck Creasy and Carlos Goffey. Carlos Goffey wrote the book Tournament Tough. He worked for Mr. Hobman. He was a young coach working with the McEnroes, Brazilian. His son's doing really well at University of South Carolina. People can go back, and we had both of them on our podcast, Carlos Goffey, and Chuck's been on a couple of times. Tell us who Lawson Duncan is.
Yeah, so Lawson Duncan is one of my favorite people. He has every reason to be arrogant, but he's one of the most humble guys. He's a stallion of a man, meaning just strong naturally in every way, athletic. I've played tennis with a lot of people. Ryan Rowe from University of Illinois, who David
Monster guy.
Yeah, David Anderson said he hits his forehand every bit as hard as Rafael Nadal's. So I played against Ryan Rowe in singles and in doubles. So I know what that big forehand looks like. They didn't compare even a tiny bit to Lawson Duncan's forehand. It would literally push me back, like somebody came up to me and just pushed me every time I hit the ball. That's his tennis. But as far as a man is concerned, he's one of the most humble guys, very accomplished. You pay him a compliment. He's so humble, it's hard for him to take. So I'll be like, well, I don't know about that. He just tries to brush it off. Just his training regiments. I thought I could work hard. That's why I thought I was going to be the best, because I worked the hardest. Then I met, Lawson, or trained with Lawson. I already knew him, but trained with Lawson.
He's a little bit older than you.
10 years. Yep. He was making a...
North Carolina boy, mountain boy.
Yep. Same mountains, North Carolina. That's right. And he was making a comeback onto the tour after an injury. I was trying to make it on the tour, so I was in town. We ended up training together for about 6 months. And he shared with me just about every Yvonne Lindell training session that they would go through. And mountain biking and biking on the road and running and all kinds. He could work hard. And that was a lot of fun.
I met Lawson Duncan. It was 1985. Very easy to remember. Boris Becker just won Wimbledon. I was teaching tennis in Germany. And Robbie Seguso was playing doubles. I've known Robbie Seguso since he was 10, and his brother Roger was there, and they found out I was teaching tennis in Germany. So through Roger, next thing I know is I'm in the hotel, I'm with a team, and there's a lot of stories with that. But I remember saying to Robbie, I said, Lawson Duncan is pretty cocky, pretty aloof, huh? And he started laughing. He says, he is the nicest guy. He's not conceited at all. He's just 100% good, but he's so quiet. Mm-hmm. I thought he was just being a little too cool for school and wasn't talking to people. I was doing a workshop for you in Asheville, where you both grew up, were close to it. And I remember someone come up, and it was raining. And I said, hey, Lawson, tell us about working out with Lendl and other things. And it was a fun session. He spoke and spoke and spoke. And someone said afterwards, I had never heard him talk so long. But I can remember the Lendl story. Actually, Pete Sampras, he's a young guy who was invited to work with Lendl. And that's a story of legend where Sampras would say, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have made it to where I was, because he really learned to work. Mm. Ride the bike 20 miles before breakfast. And Lawson said that he was playing 2 5-set matches, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, of course. And what Lendl was doing is being shrewd, is he was just playing to his forehand. Mm-hmm. If I can beat Lawson Duncan's forehand, I'm good. I'm doing okay. Tell us the story about the Jeep and the Wolf.
I was practicing with him one day, and like you said, he wasn't talking much. We were hitting balls. That's about it. We were training. That's about it. And one day, we walk up to the net post to get a drink, whatever, and he says, "So Ryan, you ever seen Timberwolf?" And I thought to myself, he means like a John Deere tractor or something. Maybe it's just something I'm not familiar with. And so, because I know he's a mountain man, maybe he had some landscaping machinery. I don't know. But he says to me, I was like, no, I don't think so. He goes, well, why don't you come to my house? I'll show you. And so we're going to his house. And so I'm assuming I'm going to see a cool tractor or something. And we pull up the driveway. And first thing I notice is his backyard has fencing, like 8-10 feet tall. Just chain link fencing, just really tall. I'm like, that's odd. But anyway, so we start walking towards that fence, and he's getting ready to open the door to the fence. And again, this is just perpetuating my thought that he's going to show me something that mows the lawn. So he opens the door, and this Timberwolf, this thing stood like 4.5 feet high, and it ran around the corner. And I'd never seen a dog that big, and it wasn't a dog, it was a Timberwolf, and he runs over to me, and the Timberwolf jumps up, excited to see me. I didn't know his excitement at the time, but he then puts his paws on my shoulders, like this, and looks at me. And Lawson says, "Down, boy." And that Timberwolf was just like, "Sorry, Dad." But he's a mountain man in every way. So that they had found his dad, who rode a motorcycle everywhere. He had found a abandoned cub in the woods years ago, and he raised it as his own Timberwolf.
The story of the Jeep, he drove off the road, and he said, no problem. He kind of just put his shoulder into the Jeep and lifted it back on the road.
His pickup truck, yeah. And so he gets in the ditch, and he pushes that truck up to where the tires will get on, and he ended up hurting his shoulder doing that. He's strong enough to do it, but he was human, so he hurt his shoulder a little bit. And his solution was, his Timberwolf had a shock collar that was pretty strong. Like, it's not the kind of shock collar you'd put on a golden retriever. It was a strong electric shock collar. So he thought he would create a stim, therapy. He put a wet towel on his shoulder, takes that shock collar and starts shocking his shoulder.